All right. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a different kind of video. We're going to be reviewing Diablo 4, Blizzard Entertainment's new game, as it were. Uh, Ignore some of the names here, just uh, uh, just for fun. Uh, so I've played the game quite a lot. I played the rogue first, uh, as you can see here. Got it to level 100. Then I played the sorcerer, got it to level 100. This has taken me, I just got this character to level 100 yesterday. So it has taken me quite some time to actually get my characters leveled up. And this is not by any means due to the fact that, you know, I played the game slowly or casually. I played this game probably 6 hours a day when I could. When the game first came out, I remember I took off work and I put a lot of hours into the game. Had the early access, so for the first 4 extra days, just pouring in hours upon hours. So there's been a lot of bugs. There's been a lot of controversies out there with them changing gameplay and everything. But we're just gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it based on the two characters that I have and how I feel like the gameplay is in its current state. So we're gonna go ahead and load into the rogue here. So I'll talk a bit about the campaign while this is loading. So as we're going through the campaign early in the game, um, it's a pretty fun experience. I'm not gonna say that the campaign was bad. Oh, I just realized that my camera's off. Let's go ahead and flip that on for y'all. There you go. Now you can see me. All right, so the campaign is a really good experience. It was fun. It was captivating. Obviously, it had an epic feeling to it, as most Diablo settings do have some sort of epic setting. Um, we're left with Lilith being the daughter of creation, or the mother of creation, if you will, the daughter of hatred, mother of creation, um, being the main antagonist throughout the entire game. Um, and as we're going through bits of the game, we're unraveling more and more of the interactions between Lilith and Inarius. Inarius being the angel that she fell in love with and consummated and created the Nephilim, right? So it's a bit of lore that's not really touched upon in the game. So, but let's not detract there. We'll get a bit more into that. So, campaign's pretty linear. Other than the fact that if we let's go out to a character. If we want to start like a brand new character, which whoops, no, okay, it's my bad. If we want to start a brand new character, that character actually has some decisions that it can make, some choices. You are not uh, led down into. So you start here in Kovashad, right? But you're not nailed down to going in one direction. There are three paths. They all ultimately lead to the same place. So you can spiderweb out. You can decide to go over here to act. Wait. Why is this? I forget which one's act which one. All right. Anyways, this is Act 2, right? So you can do Act 1, and then you can you can just immediately just decide, okay, well, I'm gonna just go do Act 2, right? So Kiavashad, or Schlogden rather, is Act 2. Or you can just go over here and do Act 3 if you really want, right? Which is Kedbardu, the main city there. And that's pretty cool. Like, I can just start wherever I want. However, I've noticed that if you do break the continuity of going to Act 3 before going to Act 2, or, not finishing Act 1 and then doing Act 2 first, right? You kind of segment break the story, and it kind of gets a little confusing. So if you're new to the game and you're just like, oh, well, it says that I can go here. Yes, you can go there, but should you go there? Should that even be an option? I feel like the idea that they developed the game in such a manner to allow you to, just go out in the open world, explore through acts, isn't really conducive to the storyline or allowing people to experience the lore in appropriate manner. Um, I do like that there's a lot of like little open world things to, go and find and collect and all this stuff. As you can see, I haven't even finished all the side quests in Act 1 here. Um, Act 1, I've done 32 of 52 of the side quests. However, it doesn't feel rewarding to do those side quests. Apart from getting your renown progress, right? Which is pretty much the only reason that I did everything. And I think I actually overachieved Act 1 more than any of the other ones due to the fact that um, I just had done side quests while leveling up through the campaign, and I had a whole bunch of side dungeons that I just didn't do, and I went back and did those. So it gave me a lot more renown than I needed. I think the total renown you need is like 2,000. Yeah, exactly 2,000 to complete this. Um, and then some of it's not even you can't even get this until after the campaign. So you can only get these first three during the story mode. And then after the campaign, you have access to this bonus here for max obols, and then this final bonus here for 4 additional Paragon points. So if we look through here, right, you can see I stopped the majority of these at 2,000. So there are several side quests that I could go back and do. However, I feel like a lot of the side quests are uninspired. There are a couple of them that are pretty neat, but a lot of them just devolve into go here, get this, come back, or go here, kill this. And I really just don't feel like MMO level fetch quests should exist in a Diablo game. Um, Realistically, a side quest for Diablo should still actually be, part of the lore. It should be exploring the lore, if you will. But a lot of it does not feel that way. If you're familiar with the rest of the franchise, so Diablo 1, 2, 3, Immortal, right? And then you're coming into Diablo 4, and you're expecting the same bestiary quality or the same lore quality that you've seen in previous games. There is a bit of a disappointment in the fact that, like, I don't have a journal anywhere. So there are little books that you can pull up, right? And so there's no journal. So I can't refer back to like a bestiary entry like I could in Diablo 3, like you can in Diablo Immortal. Um, there are narrated books scattered throughout dungeons, throughout little areas all over the map. However, these little books are few and far between. And many times, whenever you find one of these books, it's not actually lore related. It's kind of like area related. And then in some cases, you'll find like ledgers, and it just reads off like death counts during like some sort of like famine or, during a plague. And it's like, okay, that's cool. There was like a sickness, but it's not really expanded upon anywhere else in the story. So what does it really matter? You didn't even give me a time frame for when it happened. So I don't even know when that plague happened. I just know that there was one. I know a death count of it, and that's pretty much it. After completing the campaign, let's talk a little bit more about that. The campaign is pretty good. I do have some problems lore-wise in the campaign, as many other people will have. At one portion in the campaign, we do meet up with a previous Diablo NPC named Mischief. If you are a fan of the Diablo franchise and have played Diablo 2, you may have noticed that Mischief was the person who gave us a lift out of Lut Ghilain on his ship. So we used Mischief to go from Lut Ghilain to Kurast. And if you really look at how old Mischief was in Diablo 2, I mean he's pretty ancient in Diablo 4, right? He should be at least, but he's nowhere near as old as he really should be. So, in Diablo 2, Mashif probably appears to be. Let me take a look here at my other screen. He looks like he's in his like late 20s, maybe mid 30s. He's got a full beard and everything. He's also the captain of a ship. All right, a trade vessel that goes between Lut Ghilain and Kuros docks. So that's another thing. Um, there's been a jump of time between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. We know that that jump of time was 20 years. Okay, so if we just say that for some reason Mashif was 25 years old, right? From Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, that makes him 45 years old. Now the big problem comes whenever we look at the jump of time between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, knowing that Diablo Immortal allegedly happened somewhere between the time of Diablo 3 and Diablo 2. So can't really use that any timeline there to really talk about what happens because there's no expansion in time there. However, there is a 50-year gap from the events that happened in Diablo 3 that happened in Diablo 2. So, just from a lore standpoint, Mischief would have been. Now, this is conservatively, Mischief would have been 95 years old. And as we're playing through this section of the game over here, what is that? Act 4 in the campaign, he doesn't look to be anywhere near 95 years old at all. That's conservatively, he'd be 95. 95 to 100 years old. Now, granted, some people say that, oh, well, Deckard Cain was, such and such age, which I'm not entirely sure what age Deckard Cain was. But Deckard Cain was a Haradrim. He's old. And we know that certain Haradrim can be immortal. I find that in this Diablo game, after the campaign, some of the things that we get to do, if we just ignore the lore for a second here, I'm going to go off on a tangent if I keep talking about that. But lore inconsistencies throughout the campaign were a big thing for me. So no, I think we're going to keep talking about it. So lore inconsistencies, I don't like the fact that Mischief is even in the game. It was a cool little, hey, nod back, hey, Mischief's in the game, look at this. Alright. Novelty, right? But lore-wise, Mischief looks too young. Realistically, he would have been dead. What is he doing helping people cross the desert when Mischief is a sailor? So, in all reality, it's all really not feasible. So I don't think that whoever designed that quest or portion of the storyline really knew anything about the character or the lore behind that character. They were just like, oh, let's just grab an NPC from Diablo 2 because people like Diablo 2, and then we're just going to slap it in Diablo 4 uh, just to get a nostalgia kick. Really don't appreciate things like that whenever you don't take the time to actually curate to the actual integrity of the character. Uh, let's talk about some other lore inconsistencies. We also see that Mephisto during this gameplay, by the way, huge spoilers coming up. We're going to go ahead and just say that right now. The Lord of Hatred is portrayed as a beast in this game, an animal. And nowhere in any of the books, any of the lore that I have read, has Mephisto ever manifested himself as as a creature. This being a retcon, possibly, trying to, change it up a little bit, trying to, basically create new possibilities for the primevals and how they can manifest in Sanctuary is interesting. However, it doesn't really stay true to the integrity of the Lords of Hell or the lore at all. Um, so I feel like Blizzard really needs to be careful whenever they start introducing things like saying that, oh yeah, so, or well, actually introducing a whole story point where you have a primeval coming into Sanctuary as an animal and influencing Sanctuary. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about the lore here, and this is a really big point. If you've been playing the series for a long time, if you're new into the game, you're probably not. This wouldn't have bothered you. However, I've been following the franchise since 1995, since the original release of Diablo. Um, One of the bigger, egregious problems with lore consistency is probably due to the fact that your character is a Nephilim. But not only your character is a Nephilim, um, everyone around you is technically a Nephilim. Now, if you don't understand what I mean by everyone around you is technically a Nephilim, it is due to the fact that the offspring of Lilith and Inarius birthed the Nephilim on Sanctuary. And Sanctuary wasn't populated by humans originally. Inarius, I want to make sure I'm saying the right name. Inarius, am I saying the right name? It's totally Inarius. I keep trying to kind of getting Inarius and Imperius mixed up. Too many I names in the lore. I had to fact check myself. All right, yeah. So, anyways, Inarius created the Nephilim on Sanctuary, right? Due to his actions, with his relationship with Lilith. So all of mankind spawned from that, from Lilith and Inarius. My big problem with lore-related content, and how it's not been addressed either, is kind of a big problem. In Diablo 1, right? So the World Stone existed, right? We didn't know a lot of things about it. We were going through the cathedral, and we defeat Diablo, right? As the Archbishop Lazarus is trying to summon Diablo, the Lord of Terror, into Sanctuary. Which subsequently he succeeds, and if you as the hero being the canon hero Aiden, kills Diablo, and then he leaves Tristram as the Wanderer, or the Dark Wanderer, who we find in Diablo 2, who is still who actually ends up becoming Diablo again, or a vessel of Diablo, the Lord of Terror, as his will is no longer strong enough to contain the Lord of Terror. But in Diablo 2, in the expansion pack, so we have Baal come into the lore, the Lord of Destruction, and Baal corrupts the World Stone, which was housed in Mount Ariat, which was the home of the barbarians in the barbarian highlands. When the World Stone was corrupted, the World Stone was destroyed by the Archangel of Justice, Theriel. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm bringing that up. It's because the only reason that humans are weak, why the Nephilim's power is suppressed, is because the Archangel, actually, is even, I think he's called the Prophet, the Father, the Holy One, right? The creator of Sanctuary, Anarius. I don't think he's an Archangel. So anyways, Inarius tampered with the World Stone, and through his tampering, he suppressed the power of the Nephilim. So Nephilim are supposed to be stronger than both angels and demons combined. So they're literally supposed to be so much stronger. In Diablo 3, as we're going through there, we get the lore. They literally say that, they never see our character resting, right? Ever. We have so much stamina, so much strength that our character, our the one we're piloting in the game, who we're playing, is that powerful of a being. So, now back to Diablo 2, the World Stone's destroyed. Anarius had tampered with the World Stone to suppress the powers of the Nephilim. When the World Stone was destroyed, there should be no more tampering, right? The World Stone was corrupted and then destroyed by the angel, Tyrael. Once it was destroyed, it was no longer capable to suppress the power of the Nephilim. And that was the justification for your character in Diablo 3, right? A Nephilim being born into Sanctuary. Your character, unless you're playing the Barbarian, Old Man Barbarian, your character, which would have been the original character from Diablo 2, by the way. I think that's the actual standing lore, that if you played Diablo 3 and you chose a Barbarian, that character was alive during the events of Diablo 2. So, however, if you'd chosen any other character, your character was young enough to have just been, born in that cycle. So within 20 years, a new Nephilim was born, and you are extremely powerful. So, my real question, for the lore-wise, and I've done a lot of stuff. Obviously, I haven't played all of the side quests. Maybe it's in here somewhere. Where the lore in Diablo 4 doesn't touch on is it doesn't actually talk about Nephilim at all whatsoever. So that's kind of a problem. It's been a big thing throughout all of the Diablo franchise, and there's no mention of it whatsoever. It's just like gone. Also, there's no explanation of where our characters from Diablo 3 would be during this time. So from Diablo 3 to Diablo 4, only being 50-year gap, and we know for a fact that our character survived. Otherwise, if we did not defeat Malthael, Sanctuary wouldn't be here. So I mean, that's canon. we defeated Malthael, but where's the character? So now if they're going with the idea that the canon character that defeated Malthael was the barbarian, if that is the way that they're going, I could see that in 50 years' time, the barbarian could have passed away. However, there is one problem with that, and that's the fact that the World Stone doesn't exist anymore, and the barbarian was a Nephilim, which means the World Stone was no longer suppressing his immortality, as all Nephilim are immortal. So that's literally part of the Diablo lore. Nephilim are immortal. We also don't see any new Nephilim in this iteration of Diablo. So I played through the entire campaign, no mention of Nephilim. We weren't called a Nephilim, our character, so theoretically this character is not a Nephilim, right? It could just be just another person. But if my character's just another person, then why am I so powerful compared to everything else? So there's just a lot of things not stated. There's also a couple inaccuracies that come up during the storyline. So we have a person in the storyline who is a Horadrim, and he's working with Lorath, and this person is capable of forging and or augmenting a soul stone, which is they created from a fragment of the world stone. That's how the original soul stones were created, to capture the primevals. So Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, Diablo, the Lord of Terror, and Baal, the Lord of Destruction. The three original primevals that we laid low in Diablo 2. Yeah, Diablo being the original, obviously, primeval. So each one of those had been captured at some point with a soul stone. The soul stone not being very big either. It's in Diablo's case, I mean, we literally seen it jammed into Aiden's skull and radiating energy. So it's obviously small enough to be embedded into a human-sized skull. However, in this game, the soul stone that we see them working on is literally the size of a sword. The fragment of the world stone that they used is massive. The one that was used to to imprison Baal, the Lord of Destruction, was infinitesimally smaller. It's probably about the size of, I don't know, the palm of someone's hands, as we see it in the cinematics playing through Diablo 2 when Marius, the what was he? The companion to the Dark Wanderer, is holding it, and he ends up giving it to Baal. So, that one was embedded into the chest of the mage Talrasha, as it was damaged when attempting to actually contain Baal. So, the stone was actually not enough. So the only way it became enough was actually by the mage sacrificing themselves to seal away Baal. So some lore inconsistencies. Why is the Soul Stone in this game literally the size of a sword when all the other Soul Stones we've seen up to this point have been very small, nowhere near the size of this? Like Mephisto's Soul Stone especially was just a small gem that we were able to carry around in our inventory, same size as a ring or a small potion. But now it's massive. All right, that's going a bit off tangent. So all of those things don't really get touched upon in Diablo 4. So I'm gonna say from a campaign continuity point of view, the game does feel a bit lackluster. It leaves you with so many questions unanswered. Uh, Even though we get to see, some great gameplay, some decent story development, you can definitely see that there are plot elements placed throughout the campaign that actually prevent you from succeeding in your mission sooner, I guess you would say. And then there's also some needless sacrifice, which I can understand. You want to have some sense of meaning, I guess entice some form of emotion out of your audience with character connection. However, the way that it was done, the way that certain storytelling mechanics were executed in this iteration of Diablo felt a little bit lackluster to me. I will say that. Let's talk a little bit about gameplay now. So, obviously, gameplay at high end, so at the high end tier, so max level, versus gameplay early on. So, actually, we can just do gameplay early on. Gameplay early on, to me, felt pretty bad. Character felt underwhelming. I'm just gonna pick a character that I want to play, but I haven't played yet. We'll just pick this guy. There we go. We're not even gonna really customize him too much. I'm gonna keep campaign on, not click skip campaign on this, and we'll just start it out like normal. Excuse me. I am gonna skip the cutscenes though. So we're not gonna bother with that. I don't know what to call him. Cull the Conqueror? Cull. There we go. Great barbarian name. Alright. You do get to choose your difficulty, right? So if you're gonna give me an option as a veteran player to the series, I am gonna choose the harder of the two options.
I should find better shelter before I freeze.
So it starts us off in this area where we've been drugged into a cave. And we're trying to find shelter. However, we don't start with any skills whatsoever. We start with a basic attack. I do have some skill points, but that's only because I've already played through the campaign, so I've got 10 skill points. I could put these in, but a normal player is not going to have these. If you look here, this is the only reason I have these right there. So all these renowned rewards, right, throughout all the acts and stuff is the reason I have these. So we're not gonna put those in. We kind of feel a bit underwhelming power-wise starting out, right? So not too strong, not that weak. Maybe I would consider this pretty balanced. 3 hits to kill a normal monster. It's okay.
Another abandoned town.
Demons everywhere.
So the very first part here, it's gonna push us through the campaign, and it's gonna take us on a very linear path. And this linear path is pretty time gated. So if you want to play through this, I mean, it's enjoyable, right? So we can go through the campaign. But even if I skip things, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of following this NPC around. See this? Even if I know where it's going, like I know it's going up here, I gotta wait for all this dialogue. There's no way to skip it. There's no way to get ahead of it. None of that. So, escorting NPCs in games, not gonna lie, one of my least favorite things to do. It happens a lot. It's not a short amount of time that you're gonna spend doing that. Alright, we got our first skill point. We're gonna go ahead and put it into a thing. Me being, from Diablo 2, I like Bash. I liked Bash in Diablo 3 as well, so it seems like a good place to start. So we're gonna start with that. All right, let's see how Bash does for us. Looks like we started using a different weapon. So interesting mechanics exist for characters. To where this one uses a whole bunch of different weapons. And he'll switch to those weapons based on, the way you're fighting. We get to our first dungeon, and this is pretty linear again. You just go through here and do all, you'll beat a boss, you'll leave here and continue the campaign. So let's just go through here. Let's fight the first, couple. Let's fight the first boss, and I'll give you a sense of how I feel for this character compared to the other characters that I've played through this area, which, I mean, until he hits level 2 and he has access to, like, more stuff. Actually, I don't even think he has access to anything until level 3, yeah. So, you don't even have access to an actual core ability until level 3, which we just hit. Well, that's not level 3, that's technically level 2. I guess you need to be level 4. Alright, so until level 4, you don't actually have access to a core ability. So, we wouldn't actually have access to any of these until next level. But, I do, so we're going to go ahead and put a point into it. I don't know, Upheaval, Double Swing, Rend, I don't know. Hammer of the Ancient seems like a big hit. Whirlwind, I like Whirlwind a lot, but it doesn't look like it does a lot of damage. 7 to 9 damage, probably, and I've already seen how much it's taken to kill things right now. So probably just gonna go with the strongest of all of them. Just gonna take Upheaval, and we're gonna go around and try to build up and use Upheaval. Yep. All right. So that feels kind of strong. That's nice. Early scaling with my sorcerer definitely did not feel this strong at all. Oh, he just feels like a force to be reckoned with. Just like, look at that. So it's definitely, it's an enjoyable skill. However, scalability seems to be one of the bigger problems in Diablo 4. So, oh, here we go. An actual challenge. We have to fight an elite for the first time. Doesn't seem like that bad of a fight.
I'm low on fury.
Actually, as a matter of fact, early on, that seemed like this character is pretty powerful. So that's good in the case for this character. In the case for my wizard, I was extremely underpowered in this section of the game. It wasn't until like mid-game, I would probably say until like around level 20, that my character really came into actually feeling any form of strength whatsoever. So there is that. We're gonna beat this, and then we'll start talking about like post-campaign and like the things to do, whether or not, there's enough things to do, and what I feel about the game and how it plays in the end game.
I'm out of fury.
Yeah, so Barbarian's pretty strong. one of the bigger problems I do have, and it's probably the biggest one. I'm level 4 right now. These are level 3, right? But the elites are always going to be my level.
I don't have enough fury.
So if I were to level up right now, that thing would have... I think we just need to level up and show that. Level scaling in the game leaves your character not really ever gaining a lot of power by leveling up. So you always feel like a level is not actually what's giving you power. Gear is what is giving you power. Like the items you have equipped is what's going to give you your strength. And that's not been true in several Diablo games. In Diablo 1, that was definitely not true. Your gear was not as important as your stats were. So a level in Diablo 1 could mean more than getting a new item. And then in Diablo 2, you know, getting stat points, like skill points, was probably more beneficial to you. Like being able to put more skill points into something. So leveling up made your character more powerful. We'll go ahead and fight this thing. In the campaign, as we're fighting through the campaign, we'll encounter monsters up to level, I believe, 50 or 55. And I don't believe that it'll be any higher than that due to the difficulty. I'm fairly certain that it can't actually be higher than that. So this first battle is just introducing us to kind of the mechanics that we can expect from each one of the bosses we're going to be fighting. You can see that, you know, he's got mechanics that we should dodge, right? We shouldn't stand in, right? It's put bad on the floor. You guys have played MMOs before. That's literally stay out of the bad stuff. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. Really not a fan. Underneath the boss's HP bar, we can see that I keep adding up another bar. That is a stagger bar. The mechanics for this are kind of interesting. You deal a lot more damage if you can stagger an enemy. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to stagger this guy.
I don't have enough fury.
Like, he just doesn't have enough HP. So if he staggers, he'd fall over and we deal a lot more damage. So, as a, I don't know, as the starting game goes on, as you, in early game, you don't really feel like you get much power progression, I guess is probably my biggest concern. And that's due to the fact that the monsters will level up with you all the way up until level 50. Like, you're constantly just fighting the fight where, you know, you're on equal footing with all the monsters. And in some cases, you're actually at a deficit. I can't see any right now, but actually if we hit W, there are strongholds in the world. And those strongholds are areas where the minions of hell have taken over. And those minions of hell are, you know, wreaking havoc there. I think I may have defeated all of them on this character. But I'll go check. I most definitely have defeated them all on this character. We'll go to the other one. Get a Heartless. I've noticed that each character also seems to play way differently. Early game versus early, mid, and late game. When when I was playing in the beta, I played pretty much every class, and the Barbarian actually felt a lot better right there than it did in the beta the last time I played it. So that's good. It's good to know that it's been improved upon. So right here is one of these strongholds, right? There's a stronghold here. This one specifically will turn into like a little outpost or a city that we can go to. However, it says it's level 100, and you know, even if I go and change, let's go change my world. So right now we're on world tier 4, which is the highest world tier. Recommends level 70 plus, right? 50 to 70. So if I come back here to veteran difficulty, it's going to give me a warning. Alright, so I've changed this to veteran difficulty. Now look, that stronghold is still level 100. However, let me ride on my horse. You'll see that Kyovashad is at level 50. So this is campaign, the highest level difficulty that you can access while you're in the campaign, which is to World Tier 2 or Veteran. So even though I'm level 100, these monsters didn't level past, you know, 50. And I can deal appreciable damage to them. I can feel extremely powerful in this, like, difficulty of the game. So it doesn't scale infinitely,
I'm out of mana.
you know, to the point where, you know, you don't feel like you can ever just go back and help somebody and, you know, be overpowered and help them real quick. So that's still a possibility. You can go into areas where you're definitely stronger. However, there's a caveat to that. The caveat being these. So, say your friend wants help with a stronghold, and I came into World Tier 2. Let's ride over to this, real quick. So I haven't done a lot of my strongholds on this character, and that's just due to the fact that completion of the Renowned is very unrewarding on any other character other than the first character. And if they had reset the Renowned to make me have to do it again, I most definitely would not have done it. It's a very tedious to go around the map and collect all of the Lilith statues. So now that I'm in this stronghold, it says that it is a level 100 area.
I cannot do that here.
So we're gonna go up to this area where it wants me to go. Just right here. Investigate the village. Come in here.
Blessed are you who will die in the Mother's name.
Give this stranger.
So this area has scaled to level 100, the same level as my character now. As opposed to scaling, you know, to the maximum level of the content for World Tier 2. So most World Tier 2 content should, you know, only be level 50. I think World Tier 3 content caps at level 70, and then World Tier 4 is obviously whatever level I think you are. The exception to those is going to be if you enter into a Helltide or a Stronghold. Helltides being, I don't see one on the map right now. It'll be like a red infected area, kind of look like this, and it'll drop, you know, different type of loot in there that you can go do as like a special event. Let's talk about some of the things that we can do post-campaign. So post-campaign, what can we do? Post-campaign is pretty much level 50 and beyond. I think I was level 49, 51, something like that on my first character when I finished the campaign. And I was dragging my feet a little bit, so you could actually probably finish that sooner. Probably only took around I want to say that it took like 3 or 4 days to finish the campaign. And that was because I was doing some side stuff. Like, I wanted to collect statues of Lilith. I wanted to, complete certain dungeons for my class to make sure I had stuff. So, I was going through the game, just enjoying it, having fun, not really pushing too hard. Playing a bit casually just for a lot of hours. But in the end, we can go back. So post game, we can go into any of these dungeons and redo these dungeons. However, the replay value of these dungeons is pretty limited. So they put into the game these sigils. So these are nightmare sigils. In World Tier 3, you'll gain access to these by completing Tree of Whispers missions or just opening chests with obols, and they'll randomly drop. These will basically create an augmented dungeon with a higher difficulty. So, in the beginning, these augmented dungeons didn't really have better experience. They have since fixed that. However, the gameplay during the gap between there was pretty rough. I would say that most of the sigils that you can get are pretty typical. Like, you can get a whole bunch of the same things, which kind of sucks. There's no magic find sigil anymore. It appears that they removed it from the game, even though there was one previously. Magic find used to be a really big mechanic in the game. Not entirely sure why they removed it, probably because of some exploit. However, the knee-jerk reactions of the development team making rampant changes over the past month and some change here has been a bit of a roller coaster, whether or not the game is worth playing in its current state. Massive changes to builds, massive changes to mechanics, taking power away from the Paragon tree. Paragon tree being this huge tree right here. So they removed power from the Paragon board system overall. About, I would say, 30% from everything, 50% from things that they felt were too powerful. I feel like that was way too big of a change to the gameplay mechanics, especially due to the fact at the time that they made those changes, I had a character that was already a level 100, and they took away 50% of that character's damage. Massive nerf. At the time that happened, I was just like, wow, I really just don't feel like playing this character anymore. So I went and made this character, which I have only just gotten to level 100. And in the late game, I feel like there's these whispers all around the map that you can go and do. They're kind of like bounties from Diablo 3, only not. They're not really that fun to do, and they seem to be like they're spread out too much. They don't respawn as fast as I'd like. If they respawned faster and I could complete them faster, it'd probably be more fun. They're also really spread out. As you can see, there's some areas that don't even have them. Like, they just don't exist in those areas whatsoever. There are other areas where, hey, they've got a whole bunch of them. As you complete these, new ones will pop up in different areas. There are different ones that are, more interesting to do than other ones. It does give a little bit of replay value to some dungeons, because you could have a whisper on a dungeon like this one right here, which gives 5 Grim Favors. You need 10 Grim Favors to turn it into a cache. The caches...
Not while I'm in town.
Sorry about that. The caches that drop from the Grim Favors ultimately don't feel very rewarding whatsoever. If I complete a cache, sometimes all I get is rare items out of it. And I spent a significant portion of my time going out of my way to complete that cache, to like get a reward of some type. And I just didn't get anything. So another problem that I've been facing, and I was checking my inventory. Another problem I've been facing is the fact that characters drop items that they shouldn't be able to drop. And so class-specific loot should be a thing. Like, I shouldn't be able to get items that I can't use. This character specifically can get axes and some other stuff for Barbarian. Can also get Necromancer, scythes, and things like that. They're just not useful to the character, but they drop all the time. And they're just taking away from the actual useful loot pool that my character could be getting. A very frustrating mechanic that has been happening, and I'm almost convinced that this is not like conspiracy, is when you do get items to drop, the items more often will not actually be for the build that you're looking for. Like, any of the things that drop, more often than not, will be for a completely different spec, skills that you don't use, things like that. So I get unique items that drop all the time. Charge bolts, right? Critical strikes here. This is like for like, well, this is like general. That's fine. But like this fireball staff. Let's and then this crackling energy amulet. Let's go into my stash real quick. Like, there's a whole bunch of these that just drop. Like, I get this fireball staff so many times. Fireball staff, like tons of times. We can even see what levels I got them at. 72, 79, 80, right? This one at 69. Charge bolts. So I have gotten some frost burns on this character. One of those frost burns dropped on my rogue, actually. Glove of the Illuminator, so fireball. Patient Greaves, those are kind of neat, but not really. That's pretty much general unique. This Mother's Embrace Ring drops more often than, like, way more often than any other unique ring. I feel like there's not even another unique ring with how much the Mother's Embrace drops over anything else. So, I mean, I've seen I think four of that unique. So drop rate variance is not very good. If I'm looking for, specific loot that, I'm trying to actually create like a specific build because I know the uniques exist in the game. I know that the legendary aspects exist in the game. It just seems like more often than not, I'm not able to find them easily. And even when I do find an aspect, like, sometimes it'll end up like this. I get a really minimum roll, and it's just not useful. So, that's funny. There's two minimum rolls, like, standing right next to each other in my inventory. So, I mean, it makes it really hard to actually get what I need. Also, for the wizard, I've noticed, a wizard can use a dagger or a wand. In my specific case, I would prefer to use a dagger because it gives 30% damage to close enemies on it. If I go over to the Obel's vendor, the Obel's vendor is supposed to be a vendor that allows me to gamble.
The cathedral will not abandon you.
And if I come over here, I can get a wand, I can get a staff, I can get a focus. I cannot get a dagger whatsoever. Like, what is the point of that? Why can't I get a dagger? If my character can use a dagger, I should be able to roll a dagger. As simple as that. That's actually as simple as it needs to be. Well, I can use it, but I can't roll it. Makes it really hard for this class to actually find a dagger that's useful for it. Also, I've noticed that daggers are really rare on the drop table for the sorcerer, so if I'm trying to find a dagger, it's actually more advantageous for me to go onto my rogue, go to the obol vendor, and roll daggers on the rogue, and then give those daggers to my sorcerer. So I shouldn't have to rely on, you know, going to a different character, farming on a different character to get an item for a different character that I want to play. So that's a problem. At least I feel like it makes it unfun to do that, or at least it makes the game not very friendly to casual type play. There are probably not very many players that have 2 level 100s at this point in the game. I mean, I think the game's been released for a month. Let's see, Diablo 4 release date. So the release date for Diablo 4 was June 6th. We're July 8th. So we're a little bit over a month from the official release date of the game. I think early access gave us access to the game June 1st. So it took roughly 15 days per level 100 character to get where I am right now. Also, power scaling. They took a lot of power out of the game. So the capstone or the pinnacle dungeon. So what you're supposed to being aspiring to be able to defeat or complete in the game after level 100 is the Echo of Hatred. Now you'll notice that this capstone dungeon says it's level 95, right? I don't know why it says it's level 95. Because if I go into that dungeon, I'm level 100. The capstone dungeon claims that it is level 95. And the boss inside of this capstone dungeon is most definitely level 100. So we'll go on in. Typically, whenever you enter a dungeon that says that it has a level, the level of the creatures inside of that dungeon are that level. Maybe one level higher. We'll go ahead and see this real quick. By the way, this area would be like major spoilers if you haven't completed the campaign. I really recommend that you complete the game before, you know, watching a review like this, because this is me just getting down to the nitty-gritty. I've played the game for well over 400, 500 hours at this point, and this is like my honest review of how I feel about the content thus far. So this is the Pinnacle Dungeon. We get to fight the campaign boss here again, and as you can see, she's a little different than she was in the campaign. The way that we get to fight her here is definitely different, and she's level 100, even though the dungeon says that the dungeon is level 95. So we're gonna go ahead and just ignore that damage. Alright, and then get one hit. So this battle right here is not very tuned. It's not very it's not balanced whatsoever. And I'll give you an idea of what I mean by it's not balanced. So on this character, it's probably not as good a representation as if I was doing this fight on my rogue. Because if I fight this character, or if I fight her on my rogue, I do a lot more damage. There's probably a better sense of, wow,
I'm not ready yet.
he's doing a lot of damage. I have more survivability on the road. Alright, so I decided not to block that, not to hit my absorption skill right here. Flame Shield, which basically makes me immortal for 2.3 seconds. Or is it a little bit longer than that? How long is it? So it says, while Flame Shield is active, you are immune. I don't know how long it is. So, however long that is. While it's active. Let's see. How long is Flame Shield active? Does it even say? Duration, 2.4 seconds. Yeah, so. Well, that's next rank. 2.3. No? Yeah, whatever. Whatever duration that is. Alright, so that's on this character. That it just completely one-shots you. Right? There's no real dodge. You know, you can dodge around it and stuff, and that's about it. You can use teleport, yeah, but it's not the fact that it happens once. Doesn't even happen twice. It happens multiple times over the course of that battle. Well, we're not going to realistically beat her. So I don't have an item on me that I need, but we'll go and fight her. So I did manage to actually defeat the Echo of Lilith, the Echo of Hatred, or whatever you want to call her. So it was a pretty hard fought battle. It was not very fun. It took hours upon hours to actually complete, and when I was able to finally complete it, the reward was very lackluster. I didn't really feel any real sense of accomplishment upon actually beating the boss. Probably another actual problem.
Out of energy. I'm not ready yet.
So this is another problem that you'll constantly have fighting this boss, though, is that, you know, it just constantly moves outside of the arena where it would kill you if you step out there. Like, nothing else about this boss can kill this character. Yeah, that was a very bad pattern. That was a terrible pattern. Anyways, this isn't about fighting her. This is just showing some mechanics here. Definitely not gonna treat this like a real attempt. I'm a little over fighting this boss.
I don't have enough energy. I'm not ready yet. Have enough energy.
Alright, now look. Like this arena right here. If you even touch this edge, it pretty much just guarantees your character's gonna die.
Use that.
How much gold do I have? Alright, I mean, we can waste a little bit of gold, whatever. So, and one of the things that'll happen during this fight is that you'll just randomly just touch the edge. Let me just touch it. Touch the edge? No.
I'm not ready yet.
Oh, there it is. Touch the edge. Oh, that's funny. If you just randomly touch the edge, you'll die. So, that happens for the entire first portion of that fight. And when I say first portion of the fight, I mean, I don't know, probably like, if you're slow rolling the fight, maybe like the first 6 minutes. And then during the second portion of the fight, there are additional mechanics that will just one-shot your character. This in no way feels like any form of Diablo boss fight. whatsoever. I've played every game in the franchise up to this point. The boss fight is 100% unfair. I was able to defeat every boss in Diablo, every boss in Diablo 2, without any mechanic that exists like this, where it's just one hit dead. Every boss in Diablo 3. There is not a single boss that was ever in Diablo 3 that had a one-hit mechanic. Just did not exist. And I was able to defeat Diablo in Diablo 3 before they nerfed the Torment or the Inferno difficulty. So, pre-nerf Inferno, there's not one-hit mechanics. Why are there one-hit in Diablo Immortal? There's no one-hit mechanics. Why in Diablo 4 are we being presented with a pinnacle boss or pinnacle dungeon, whatever you want to call it, pinnacle challenge, where there is no precedence for these types of mechanics? If I wanted to play a Dark Souls game or a Souls-like game, I would go play Dark Souls. I would go play Demon Souls. I would go play any number of those, games like Code Vein, for those mechanics. I'm not looking for mechanics that are so unforgiving that I don't feel like doing the content. Ultimately, yeah, I geared up and kept doing the content because it was the only thing left in the game. Ultimately, now there's nothing really challenging in the game. There's nothing I really need to farm. This character build is complete. Don't really need anything else. I can kill anything that I really want to. The only thing that I really could possibly be doing is pushing Nightmare Sigils up to tier 100 Nightmare Sigils. However, the repetitiveness of just doing Nightmare Sigil after Nightmare Sigil, attempting to push your way up, doesn't really give you anything. There's no real good loot that comes from them. So loot in this game is defined by item power. So the last breakpoint in stats for item power is item power 725. So I guess I do have a ring here, 2 rings here that don't have the breakpoint, and that's about it. So if that's the highest breakpoint, whenever we're talking about stats being increased, because anything past that, we don't get additional stat breakpoints where there's a higher cap on the stat. It's just pointless. I don't get a higher chance of unique items dropping, or not a confirmed higher chance of uniques dropping if I'm completing higher Nightmare Sigils. And I'm easily able to just tear through Nightmare Sigil level 50, 40s. Those go so quick. It does take time for me to finish, above 60. And beyond, that, it's just going to take more time. You got to be more careful. I don't like the idea that I have to be super careful. I don't like the idea that a content exists in the game, right? So Nightmare Sigil tier 100 exists in the game, right? But it's not balanced to the point where any character could technically do a Nightmare Sigil 100. Any build could do a Nightmare Sigil 100. Blizzard said that they wanted to prevent, or they didn't want people, funneling into specific builds, which is why set items don't exist in Diablo 4. Personally, I feel like that's kind of an idiotic decision. I mean, No offense, but I just don't feel like that is a great decision whatsoever. You're gonna have people funneling into builds no matter what system you have. I mean, you're gonna have more less diversity due to the fact that not all of your skills are as powerful as other skills. I mean, and they did not balance their game into a way where uh, certain skills are, you know, not more powerful than others. Literally, we just by looking here, these are +0 skills. Barrage, right? Does 6,000 to 7,000 damage. This one does 7,000 to 9,000 damage. Right? Let's look at the cooldowns and the energy costs. This one costs less energy even. Look at that. Even has a higher chance towards lucky hit, 21% towards lucky hit. Yeah, ultimately I'm gonna choose rapid fire if I were choosing a range skill right now. If I chose between these two, let's see what this one is. Penetrating shot. 35 energy cost and does 16,000. So depending on the mechanics, even penetrating shot right there at being 10 more. So 10 more, do I at least have 30% more damage? Yeah, so penetrating shot's probably the winner here. So just by looking at that, penetrating shot is way stronger than these other skills. Now, are there modifiers that might make the other skills more powerful? Sure, there are. Just looking at the base skill itself, though, the very base of the skill is what we need to base our decisions on while we're leveling. Like, whenever you're organically, creating a character, whenever you're organically leveling up, we're gonna choose whatever's strongest for the characters. And if the strongest things end up being, if your strongest base skills end up being, in this case, twisting blades, right? Or flurry. These are the two strongest skills for rogue. Without a shadow of a doubt. There's no stronger skill that exists in the game. Those two are it. If those are your two strongest skills, that's what all your rogues are going to use. Penetrating shot is your most powerful marksmanship skill. It's probably what your entire player base of marksmanship players are going to start funneling towards and using. All of your items that you introduced, right? Legendary powers, right? We can look at the codex for this. When your codex is funneling players towards using damage, just upping damage, and you don't have like specific boosts to every skill. Like there's a specific boost to twisting blades. Makes it extremely powerful. So, of course, players gravitated towards that. I think that the lack of set items in the game is a poor choice. It's a very poor choice. I do believe that the addition of rune words into Diablo 4 would be great. We haven't seen them since Diablo 2. In Diablo 3, we saw runes being used to augment skills. A little bit different. If that's what this is supposed to be, I shouldn't have to be putting skill points into it. I do like the addition of a skill tree that I, have to put points into. I do like this. Really feels a lot of reminiscent of an actual isometric RPG, kind of like Diablo 2 or Diablo 1. I do like the stat tree, right? The skill tree. Paragon tree, I am not in love with this at all. This gives a lot of customization to characters, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea that there's a lot of customization to this end game. However, it's just a bit much for a lot of people. Optimizing a character build with this, it's going to take hours upon hours. I mean, I play the games casually these days. I don't have as many hours as I used to when I was younger. So, when I was younger, I could probably play a game for like 13 hours straight, 14 hours straight. Not have to worry about do I need to like, go take trash out? Do I need to do any home improvements around the house? Things like that. Do I need to spend time with my family? All right. This is a neat addition. But ultimately, I mean, feels a lot like a hardcore ARPG tree here. This is not really meant for casual players anymore. This is going into the realms of Path of Exile, where you have people that are theory crafting all the time, and although it's great and it works, it works good. I don't have time to actually sit down and waste countless hours trying to figure out what works well. Now there are people out there that do that and they love doing it, so they put up builds and things like that. Now my big problem with all those builds that come up and get pushed out is that Blizzard has had a knee-jerk reaction to pretty much hamstringing any build that comes out that was strong enough to actually defeat this right here, this Echo of Hatred capstone dungeon for endgame. Every build that came out within the first, I'd say, 3 or 4 weeks that was capable of defeating the Echo of Lilith was severely, heavily nerfed. And this character right here that I'm playing, the Rogue, suffered from those nerfs. It suffered so much to the point where I stopped playing it. It wasn't fun anymore. Pushing with this character build was no longer a feasible thing. The character just didn't feel fun anymore, and I got bored. Where I'm at right now is the content that is still left in the game. So, although it seems like there's a lot to do, like with little events popping up from time to time, like this Legion event, Hell Tides raising up to be defeated, world bosses popping up, right? These little whispers, and we also have the last thing that's possible right now, these nightmare dungeons, right? Even though it seems like there's a lot to do, the content is quite uninspiring, and it's really lacking in reward to the players. So much to the point where you don't really feel like playing because you know it's going to take you hours upon hours to be able to get something that may or may not be good for your character. In the case of unique items like this bow here, so this Sky Hunter bow is a unique bow that dropped for me. I get a unique item to drop on a character, and this is whenever I'm like, just destroying dungeons. Probably every, I don't know, 8 to 10 nightmare dungeons. I will get one unique every 8 to 10 nightmare dungeons, roughly. And it's not a small amount of time that it takes me to do that. So we're talking about well over an hour worth of time worth of gameplay to gain one unique item. And there are several unique items in the game that I would like to acquire that are just far too rare. They've made the chances of getting some of these rare unique items, as they call them, super rare unique items, 1 in 1.48 million. So I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't have. I mean, don't have the like time to farm a unique where 1 in 1.48 million of uniques that I drop will be one of these super rare uniques. If we put that into a perspective of time, because I know it's roughly around like an hour to an hour and a half of farming for each one of the uniques that I've found, according to my research anyway, and according to my documentation. So we'll do it on the low side where it's a unique an hour. So that would be 1.48 million hours that I would have to play the game. So 1.480 hours, divide that by 24 hours in a day, divide that by 365 days in a year. Okay, so to put that in perspective, it would roughly take me 169 years, as it currently stands, for me to realistically get one of these legendary, or one of these, rare, unique items. That's it's a lot of time. It's way more time than any player should have. Any person should have to invest in any game. I mean, it's more time than fucking we're gonna have alive. Pardon my French. It's more time than I'll have alive to just be able to get that item. So ultimately, um, what it boils down to is Diablo 4 was fun uh, in the beginning, through the campaign. Um, the mid game was interesting with all the little things that we had to do, all the little events, world bosses, uh, the little side areas, whispers, things like that. However, several of those side events and little things that you can do are unrewarding, and I do believe they need to be enhanced greatly to be able to actually reward the player for their efforts. Because at present, a player is not being rewarded appropriately. Uh, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about Diablo 4.
I can't do that here.
I will go ahead and say that for it being a $70 game, it took approximately, I'm gonna say roughly 70 hours to beat the campaign. However, a lot of areas in the campaign seem to be empty, where I'm just running around a lot. This is a lot of traveling, a lot of footwork. Uh, you don't get a mount until really late in the campaign. I think it's actually at the end of Act 4 that you finally do get a horse. Um, that could actually accelerate the gameplay, make it feel, a bit better throughout a lot of portions of the game. Um, I'm not entirely sure about the longevity of Diablo 4 in its current state. I would ultimately say that if we don't see some major changes to how the events are, the drop rate of items, um, the drop tables actually being catered properly to the class that you're playing, and ultimately the ability to, I guess actually the ability to get unique items more regularly, or a better method of farming them. I don't see the casual player base sticking around for much more than completing the campaign and then just being done with the game. Me personally, I've grown bored of the game to the point where I really just don't actually want to play the game. Whenever I log in, sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, so what do I want to do? I guess I can play Diablo 4. I'll log in the game and then I'll just be like, there's nothing really that I feel like doing. Um, and then I'll decide if I want to play something else or just go do something else. Uh, so I'm pretty much waiting around for seasonals to do a review on that. However, based on what I saw on the live stream from Diablo 4 for the upcoming changes and the new like quest line and events and sequences that are going to be coming up in the season adventure, I'm not sure that that's actually going to be enough to actually give the game enough replay value for me to keep playing the game. Long term, anyways. I may actually return to playing Diablo 3, as Diablo 3 is a bit more engaging of a game currently in its present state than Diablo 4 is. Well, I'm Xenerax, and that's my honest review. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask them, post them. Let me know uh, what you feel about Diablo 4 down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, guys.